So I want to thank everybody. I'm back. We took some time off here. We're on vacation. I'm back here with my friend Anthony Powell, who is just an awesome guy. He really is a rock star. I was just telling him that. And he is like the perfect candidate for the Fighting Networker because he is a fighter. And I know that for a fact. Anthony, we're not going to mention names and companies and products really, unless you want to, like we talked about, you could give
Sure.
your little thing.
I'm an
But
open book, my friend.
yeah, that's great. I appreciate you being here.
Thank
Um,
you. Thank you for having me here. I mean, I've been in the industry now, I hate to say it, but 26 years. I started at the age of 19. I'm sure you'll pull some of the meat out of me, but I was personally trained by some of the industry legends, and then Jim Rohn was a father figure of mine. A lot of people don't know that.
that's a big wow for me. I don't
Yeah.
know if you know, but Jim said to me in 1989, Jack, I want you to think of me as your personal counselor. And that was the day that changed my life.
Totally. I mean,
Oh,
it's
big, yeah,
people
go
don't
ahead.
understand. I mean, Jim off stage and behind the, one-on-one was very similar to how he was on stage. And people didn't know he had a little patio home here in Phoenix over by the Biltmore Hotel. And whenever he'd come into town, he'd call me and he'd say, "Hey, I've got my wine and I've got a couple cigars. Let's just go to the pool and talk." And it was just perfect.
Oh,
I
wow.
did that for years. I helped his daughter get to a high position, and no one knows that, but I had her sister at the time. He called me and says, "Hey, can you help my daughter get up the marketing plan?" I was like, "For you? Are you kidding me? Of course." So I had a lot of incredible things with him.
Hey, we
Also,
got a freeze frame.
it's
We
just a
got a
lot.
freeze frame. What's going on? Don't freeze frame on me.
I'm
See if we can come back. Hang in there.
okay.
If we have an edit here, we had a freeze frame. We're back. We're good. You look
We're
good.
back.
Go
Thank you.
ahead.
So,
So, yeah.
I was just saying that Jim had he had a little patio home here by the Biltmore, and he'd come in here and he'd grab his wine and his couple cigars, and he'd say, "Hey, come over, let's sit by the pool and talk." And I did that with him for years. He goes, "No one really knows I have this house here, so don't tell anybody." I was like, "All right, I won't. Of course, I won't." And I helped and of course, you can pull a lot of great conversations out of that. I mean, I did that for 10, 12 years. And then, of course, I had a lot of great times. I had a really amazing time with Larry Thompson. You remember Larry Thompson?
I do.
Okay, so this is I started at 19 when he started the Sell Wealth Building movement, the High Five Club, and that was a monumental thing for me because at such a young age, that system that he built was so incredible. Fast forward, I'd earned a lot of money in my career. I can't even explain how much I've made. It's been so out of control. And I made one day, I think it was about 10 years now. I flew out to Dallas and I called him and his assistant that he had even had way back. "Hey, I'm flying to Dallas. I want to give respect to Larry. Can you have him meet me at this private airport?" And I flew into Dallas with my private, big, huge international jet. And I landed and we just had tears. I said, "You're the reason why I got here. Is your mindset, yours and Mark's got me to think bigger than I am and was. And as a result, here I am flying to see you on my private jet. Thank you." And it was just I mean, it was mind blowing. That
That's so awesome. I love him very much. Larry Thompson has been like my grandfather, and I talk to him often. Jim Rohn is in a class of his own,
Oh yeah.
and I'm jealous. I'm so jealous that you spent that kind of time with him. I spent some good time with him on calls like this, but we didn't have the video. It was just conferencing and
Incredible.
talking, just talking over the phone. I spent dinner with him. I spent time, but nothing like I can imagine what he must have really opened up to you in ways that were very special, huh?
I can't even, like, every day I wake up and that's one of the number one things I'm thankful for is that relationship. Um, I mean, I can't even express just how in depth our conversation, our relationship was, and no one really knew this. I mean, all the old legends never really knew I had a relationship like that with him, and I did, and it was incredible, and I'm so thankful. It's allowed me to do things today as far as building companies. 'Cause I've built a lot of companies, if I didn't have the knowledge and I didn't have his basically his stick to itiveness that he installed in me, I wouldn't be as successful as
Hmm.
today, just because I know it sounds cliche. We all talk about that when it comes to Jim, but it really is. He was the man. And it's too bad that he didn't get monetized correctly because there's no way he couldn't be a billionaire in today's world.
Oh, well, today's world would have been amazing if he was here, but just that timing wasn't quite connected. Can I
Hmm.
ask you this? Let me ask you this, Anthony, because I know what it is for me. What is like that short quote post that Jim said to you before we even knew what a post was? Just like a short sentence, a sentence. What did he say to you that really did it? Was there one sentence or two? You know what I'm talking about?
Well, there was a time we were flying to Germany, and I can't mention names, but the gentleman has passed, and he was a huge earner. This is like 19, I don't know, 90s. I forget what year it was. He says, I'm going to go and teach you and show you the power of stick to itiveness. And I'm like, okay, why? And he goes, you're young and you're already making, I think I was making, I don't know, 20, 30, 40,000 a month. I forget what it was. It was a long time ago. And he says, I'm going to show you a person that is not sticking to their original plan and they're going to lose everything because they're focused on things that are not contributing towards their life and their business. I was like, okay. So I didn't really understand at the time. And he said, remember the time I told you about you're either going to have to pay the price of regret or pay the price. Everyone knows his famous quote. Um, and I go, yeah. He goes, you're going to see the price of regret. I'm like, okay, we get into this place, we do a meeting. There's like 5,000 people there. This guy's loaded. He's got cars and people. And it's just like, wow. And I get back on the plane. I go, what were you trying to show me? That was an amazing meeting we went to. He goes, that guy is going to be broke in 24 months. I go, how do you know that? He goes, because he's doing things he shouldn't be doing, like sleeping with his downline and spending money over here and doing this and doing that and buying mansions and not he's not laying his foundation. Sure enough, 2 years later, poor guy, broke, dead broke, didn't listen to Jim, could say Jim, but didn't live by what Jim was talking about.
It's not funny
And
though.
he was broke. And then fast forward, the poor gentleman passed away, you know. And it was really sad to watch the breakdown. But that really, at the young age of 20 years, like 20, I thought it was about 24 then, 25, 26, somewhere in that area. But that allowed me, I never was the person that went out and did the whole millionaire, chase the girls, did the drugs, bought the mansions and all of that stuff. I literally reinvested every dollar I made for like 15 years and built an empire around myself to where no matter what happened, I could still or live the way I wanted to. So I didn't do that Richie Rich thing where I made 20 grand, spend 40. I always made 20 grand and live off two.
You know, that was amazing. And so many, especially the wannabe entrepreneurs and even the young entrepreneurs today, because I get it. I saw, what you're talking about, that story. I know what you're talking about and who you're talking about. And some just never really learn and they can't handle prosperity. They struggle with prosperity. They don't have the
Mhm.
capacity for it. And even though they're making the money, and they're more miserable with the success than they were before they had the
It's
success.
so sad.
How crazy is that?
It's so sad. Because it's like, it is that again, I can say the word cliche, but it is that mindset or that sentence that goes, the grass is greener where you water it, right? And everyone's always looking to see somewhere else that it's greener. It's not. It's where you water it and it's where you nurture and it's where you are consistent at is where over time it'll become better. And you have to live by that. Otherwise, if you're always looking for something else to be better, it's just not going to be. You get over there and you've burnt down everything behind you to get over there, then it's even worse.
How about fear? You deal well with fear. You just kind of like let go of fear. It doesn't affect you like it affects so many others, does it?
Well, there's a couple things. My buddy, and one of my really good friends is he's from India and he says, trust in God and tie your camel. Meaning you have to do things with certain fundamentals. Business is one of them. You have to follow like an order in which you do things. And then as you grow, you can't be naive. When you throw your hat in the ring and you're a business owner and something happens to you, the judge is going to say, hey, you threw your hat in the ring, you're in business, you need to know the letters of the law. So one thing people don't realize is my entire career in network marketing, I've always done things differently than traditional. So that allowed me to have a faster growth rate. But with a faster growth rate, I had to take responsibility with lawyers. So I spent $12 million in 10 years with lawyers learning the industry, learning where how far can I take it before I can't go any farther. Meaning I just never pushed it to a point where I couldn't sleep at night. I always paid my taxes. I always paid my lawyers, and whatever my lawyer said to do is what I did. I didn't like say thank you and go do something else. So I really understood the opportunity market. I understood the business opportunity market. Then I understood what the FTC and all the rules and the laws were. And so I knew at where I couldn't push it past. And so I really obeyed that. I didn't press it. And so it allowed me to move fast. Like, I understood when people were still kind of challenging what was I was doing sales funnels when they weren't called sales funnels. I started doing sales funnels about 1995, and everyone in the industry said, "Oh my gosh, this is going to take the industry down." And I'm like, guys, you're doing a whole presentation in a hotel. I just have it on a video, but I'm letting 1,000 people look at it, and you have one person you got to go sit in front of and do, and they just couldn't get their mind wrapped around scaling. So I was just way before ahead of my time. Now everyone does it, but I was just ahead of my time. And the other thing about me was I knew back then to have my lawyer involved. So people didn't know that part either. They thought I was rogue and I just was doing things I shouldn't be doing. And really, I wasn't. I was really focused on increasing my presentations because you got to do 40 presentations and you got to talk to 10 people and this and that. So I just got smarter than the others. Not that I'm smarter, but I just learned how to do presentations greater. But then I also accommodated for the duplication by doing online universities before they were even online universities. Now everyone does it.
Yeah, I mean, how important is it, right? Because a lot of people just aren't going to change. They're wishing it would go back to the way it was. And it's like, news alert, it's not going back.
No, it's
I mean,
just
if you're not using automation, if you're not using these digital tools today, you just can't compete with someone that is. You have to use this stuff. And it's not that difficult, is it?
no. And you know what's interesting about what you just said? I started utilizing the technology in the late 90s, and I've had to reinvent myself. Like the industry's moved so fast that what I did yesterday doesn't work today. So the video portion of it does, but the containers don't work the same. There's different techniques that work different. And for me to be in today's world with all these young people, like the super young 20-year-olds, if I didn't change and grow and invest in mindset and learn I would be someone they'd all run by me. But I just knew that you have to continue to invest in your, just like we did in personal development, you got to do in today's technology. And it is exactly what you said. It is super simple. You just have to test. And if you're
Yeah.
willing to test, then you can find things that work. But it's the same thing when we used to do hotel presentations. It's like I used to do 2,000 car flyers 7 days a week in Seattle in the rain, and we would put them into a voicemail, and then you're like, well, how come no one is responding? Well, it takes 15 days to a month before people start responding. Well, most people quit during that time. Well, I did 1,000 retail flyers a day and 1,000 recruiting flyers a day, 7 days a week, no matter what happened. I did it every single day religiously. Then I would put pull tabs at places that had mailboxes at night, and then I would hang signs and things like that. I did those three things every day massively. When they said to do 10, I did 50. When they said to
That's
do
right.
50, I did 100. So there was no magic why I grew so fast. I just didn't stop. I did
Yeah.
more than what everyone said to do. And guess what? Eventually your skill set catches up if you're doing the work.
That's right. And the plan today is the flyers are the same and the way we do stuff is the same. It's just the tools have changed. And
Yeah.
I mean, when we talk, this is amazing to me, and I know you'll agree. The fortunes in the follow-up.
Oh,
And we all know how important follow-up is. And we all know that in most businesses, people don't follow up. And there was a reason for it, because especially in the day before automation and all this stuff. I mean, one month I got 300 retail customers. And then I thought to myself, how the hell am I going to follow up on all these people? And so it was very difficult because I didn't have in place that system to help me to stay in touch. How important is that system to stay in touch?
well, you and I both know this. We had the 3x5 card box, the 1 through 31, and that's how we did everything. I mean, then I just took that 1 through 31 card box and made it into a digital format. And then the system,
Voila,
I just digitized it, is all I did.
dude,
And
I
it's
love
so
you.
important. It's like there is pennies in the sale, there's a fortune in the follow-up. And that is probably the most important thing because people want to see that you actually care about them. Now, you can go too far, you can enable people. So you got
Yeah,
to learn the fine line there. And, just always tell us don't deliver the products even in the first 10 customers because everyone's going to expect it. So you just got to follow the system. Every company, every group, they all have a system they follow, and it's really important to get inside the draft of a system that you're in and just get into it and don't ask questions, just do it. And that's where you learn.
it is. And that list continues to grow. How important is your list to your success? Seriously.
Well, a couple of things about a list. Number one, you got to clean your lists, right?
Mhm.
And I put everything about every 9 months. I put everything through a cleaning situation where they take out spam traps or dead emails or phone numbers because I do text and email lists. But yeah, and then I segment my lists out. Segment means they segment into who they are as either a customer or a distributor or what they've purchased in the past. And that way you can communicate with different price points or different types of customers towards different types of situations, offers towards your product or company news or things of that nature. So I'm really big on lists. I have a huge list, to be honest with you. I've got, I've in my career, I signed up over 820,000 people in my organization. There's so many seven-figure earners and all that stuff. So I keep it all segmented out and I communicate with people based on that, on where we last left off.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I mean, in the day we started, Mark would say, you're going to put together a people book. And the people book was just a notebook. And everybody you talked to that day, you'd put down their name, their telephone number. You'd try to keep track of what you said in the conversation. I piled these up one year, and this was many years into it. I had like 5 feet of notebooks with people's names and numbers in it, right? And it never dawned to me. Well, it did, but we didn't have it back then. Today, we've got the technology where that stuff just accumulates in a database, and it's so easy to send out a message. Like you said, you make one video and it goes out to 10,000 people that you're following up on.
Yeah.
And because the little notes we used to take, like where I left off with the person, you can segment it out, like you talked about segmenting things out and stuff. But I mean, most just don't do that, do they?
No, and it is important to do. It's not hard to do either because now, I mean, I used to have to hire programmers to do all this. Now everything's soft. All this technology is here. You don't need anybody you don't need to spend a lot of money. You don't need a lot of know-how. Everything's in front of us today. So whatever you want to do, you can search for it. You can look for things to help you. And I highly recommend you do because probably the most important thing you have is your database. Funny you said that, Jack, about our 3-ring binders. I have a Hall of Fame where I've got my 3-ring binder, my binder, and I got my boxes. And, I still look at it because that's where I started.
Oh,
And
that's
that's what
awesome.
started me on my system, right? I
That's
started
awesome.
thinking about systematic. Everything in life is a system. Think about everyone. I don't eat at McDonald's, but everyone knows what McDonald's is. And the reason why McDonald's can be in 100 and some countries around the world is because they have a system. And they can have 14 and 15 and 16-year-olds run a multi-bazillion-dollar company. It's because a system. So if you have a system and it's simple and it's magical and it works, you just do the same thing over and over again and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So that 3x5 card box was enormously amazing for us.
It was.
And I mean, I didn't realize how to build an organization in my first portion of my, like the first year or whatever, 2 years. And so I was doing $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month in retail sales because I didn't know any better. And
Freaking awesome.
I remember I was we were at the Hollywood Theater, where the Oscars used to be or the Academy Awards used to be. And I remember I got up on stage and I'd made like $20,000 and me, and he looked at me like, congratulations. And as I'm walking off the stage and he goes, hey, retail 2,500 and go out and find a lot of people to do 25. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, trust me, go do 2,500 in retail sales a month and go find as many other people to do 2,500 in retail sales. And he just kept clapping and I walked off and I was like, wow, that was interesting. And
Yeah.
I went to go talk to my mentor, and of course, the clarification and everything, like, wow, now I get it. But the
Yeah, yeah.
retail is so powerful for me. That's how I lived off of my retail sales, you know?
Oh yeah, it is. You know, and what we're talking about really applies to all businesses. I mean, they're all this X amount of pieces, and they're all basically in everyone's business. Every business is great if you know how to get leads.
Oh,
You know what I mean? There is
mhm.
no sucky business. It's sucky at getting leads, right? Isn't that
Yeah.
more or less true?
Yeah, and you know, leads are the thing now. And gosh, it's so much easier today to get leads than when I did it. I mean, I've done everything you can imagine. We started out, obviously, you know, I had $150 in my name, so I had to do flyers when I first started in the industry. And then as my income grew, I changed the methodology. So I would go to signs on the side of the road. Then that went away. Then I did faxing. Then that went away. And then I did radio and television. And that I did that, and then and internet native ads and email blasts and text messaging. I did everything you can possibly think of. And the thing that it worked, I mean, I think we brought in close to 10 to 12 million leads over my time of lead generation, maybe more than that. And the interesting thing about that is today, and we couldn't profile back then. It was just a broad stroke, right? Here's our advertising, and then people would respond. Today, you can do all the social media advertising, and you can actually profile the person you're trying to get a hold of, you know, the person to respond to you. Now, just like it did back in the day, I didn't know anything. I had no business know-how, no anything. Today I do, but back then I didn't know it. I had to educate myself. And you have to, as Jim Rohn says, discipline your disappointments, because as you're educating yourself and you're trying, it may not work. But you have to put more ammo in your gun and shoot fire again, and it may not work again. But you're learning as you're going through the process, and eventually, if you keep going, you're going to learn something that will blow up your business, and you don't even have to spend a lot of money. Back when I did it, it was always a $10,000 test, and then the $10,000 test was then another 10, and then sometimes it'd be 50 grand, the money we didn't even have to go through all the testing to finally on the last credit card it would work. Today you can spend $5 on social media and you could test up to $100 and determine if it's going to convert.
How crazy is that?
Oh man,
Is this like the greatest time in human history to be an entrepreneur or what? What do
oh,
you think?
I've never,
Isn't it?
I remember back when I was young, I mean, a millionaire was a big deal. Now there's so many millionaires. There's
They
millionaires.
want billionaires now.
Now we're creating billionaires. So we gotta get to work.
No kidding. I'll tell you, I feel like I'm doing sucky when I get out there and listen to what's going on. When I watch you, I get all nervous. I can't sleep at
Oh,
night.
geez.
I suck.
No, not at all. You know what? I'm just a big, I just literally, you know, this is interesting. I literally took notes when I was in the nosebleed section. I said, one day I'm gonna sit in the very front row, and I did. You know, when I retired from the industry, I was the #1 distributor in my company by far. Had the biggest check by far. And I broke all the sales records, and I loved it. It was such an amazing opportunity. Um, and I just really am so thankful that I went through all of that. And it took me and it made me the business person that I am today, because I had the best of the best, and I've had the biggest wars, and I've had the best friendships, and I've had the worst enemies. Every single one of those experiences allowed me to raise who I am as far as the capacity of the type of businesses I can run today. So I am so thankful of everything I've gone through in my life. And guys, if you're listening to this podcast, don't look for the easy stuff. I mean, just because you get a customer and they lose some weight, or you whatever kind of product or service you market and promote, and you get success, you also need to experience the bad stuff too, because that forms you as a business person. Because I always tell my people, don't be happy when it's up and down when it's down. Be the same person regardless of what happens to you. And if you do
Wonderful.
that, you'll always be in control of your situation.
You will. And your health. You know, you look good.
Oh, thank
Do you,
you. I've been
do
through the
you,
roller coaster.
what's your plan? I mean, tell me, how important is it your fitness life as an entrepreneur?
Well, let me tell you, I take 2 shakes a day and tablets too. I still do it. Look, look at here. It's right here. Look,
That's
water
funny.
and shakes.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? That's
I mean,
great. That's
it's
so
a
good.
no-brainer, right?
Yeah,
But I'm, you know, being older, one thing I realized, regardless of what it is, now I do like hormone therapy and all that good stuff to
sure.
try to game the system, but I do it under doctor's supervision, 'cause I'm not a person of excess. I like to keep things in moderation, but it's working out.
That's
I,
great.
I I do it in the morning. I do it in the evening. I do it 6 days a week.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, it's like brushing your teeth for me. There's days I just absolutely positively don't want to do it,
sure.
but I just do it anyways.
That's the answer right there. I mean, there's no excuses. Either you're making progress, right? Or you're making excuses. I
Yep.
love it. I love it. This
I
was a great time together. We could talk for hours, but I like to go about 30 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And since we're talking about the health part, let me take a second to talk about a service I put together called smoothietext.com. For those that can't see us, behind me I have the sign. And I think it's a revolutionary service because it takes 2 minutes to sign up. It's a free subscription, and you give your address, you give the credit card you would use. And when you do this, every day you'll get a text message from smoothietext.com with a new smoothie mix. And if
Wow.
you like the flavor that you see, let's say it's Dutch chocolate, you just click one, you text one, and it's sent to you immediately. You don't need to get your credit card. You don't need to give your address because you do that all when you subscribe.
Hmm.
And so it's just a real cool service. You never have to remember passwords or anything like that. Plus, because the text comes every day for the rest of your life, there's all new flavors. You never know. You might see, for example, pina colada healthy meal smoothie mix, and you're like, I want to try that. You just takes 2 seconds and it's on its way. So I'm excited about it, and I'm really in the testing phase because I put this together and it seems to be working really, really well. So I'm ready to launch and get the message out to everybody. I appreciate you listening, though. And I know, Anthony, I know you've got a lot of stuff going on, and I know that if it's up to you, if you want to. I know you told me it doesn't matter, but if you'd like to, plug anything you're doing, or maybe somebody they want to check you out, let them know.
I mean, the greatest thing to do is just check me out on social. I'm not a person that, I like what you just said, to be honest with you. I'm going to go check your thing out because I think that's brilliant. I think you're the one with the podcast. You're to have the product that we need to talk about because that's most important. Guys, I've been around the block for over 25 years. I've mentored thousands of people. So I still do that today. I'm not in a direct sales company today. I am just I mentor people on teaching them how to become digital closers. And a lot of my people are non-network marketers and a lot of them are network marketers. So I do a lot of big, heavy consulting for the English communities and also the Latino communities. So I go all over the world still and in front of tens of thousands of people. I do have a lot of consulting stuff. So if you're looking to increase either A, your communication skills, or B, your back end and how you run your companies and stuff, hit me up on Anthony Powell #1 on both let's see, everywhere. So Instagram, Twitter, which is now X. I believe my Facebook is the Anthony Powell, Anthony Powell. So I'm just here to serve. I don't have anything to sell you here to do here. I just wanted to come on here, and I love talking about what you just did, and then I love to hear about your new product because say you have something here that is helping keep things fun, consistent. So that's why I think it's a brilliant move you just did and what you have. So I'm going to check it out and get involved with that as well too. So thank you for having me. It's a big honor to be here today, and I just want to say thank you.
Anthony, thank you so much. And I'm going to close with that. I appreciate you all listening to the Fighting Networker. We'll be back next week with a new guest. Maybe not as cool as Anthony, but they'll be good. Talk to you then. Bye-bye, folks.